What happened in qualifying for the Miami Grand Prix? Fun times, really enjoyable. Really love this. I love Formula One. I love Ferrari, and I feel like they should pay for my therapy.
Yes, I can't believe it happened again. Literally the last podcast we were talking about a Charles Leclerc crash, and here we are again.
I didn't think it would be this quick, I'm not going to lie to you, but here we are. Right, let's get into Q1, shall we? Both McLarens were out. Now, I'm hurting as a Charles Leclerc fanboy, if you want to call me that. I know I have skirted around that particular definition. But I feel like myself and McLaren fans feel very, very similar. Although I feel like McLaren's expectations as fans are a lot lower than perhaps where mine are. But both of them being out in Q1, that's a stinker.
Shocker. When I thought Norris was, after that last race, getting back to where he belonged, but nightmare for McLaren.
Not the only surprise either in Q1. Lance Stroll, in quite possibly the second or third fastest car, gets knocked out in Q1. His teammate is on the front row of the grid. I know through a slight stroke of luck, but Stroll starting 18th.
That's got to be one of the biggest teammate deficits he can possibly have, really. Yeah, Alonso on the front row, Stroll 18th. Absolute shocker. Aston Martin didn't actually look all that great in the first part, but this is the thing with Miami. The track is all about just getting the lap in when the track is as good as possible.
Sergeant P20, unfortunately for him, did not go well at his home Grand Prix. I found the team radio slightly amusing by the fact that he almost felt like perhaps he was going to make it through, and the engineer said, "Nope, you're last." And then Tsunoda, I think it was a shock as well for him to be out-qualified by Nick De Vries after everything that went on, for De Vries to be off in FP1 after about 10 minutes, to then turn it around and out-qualify his teammate, not by much, but still out-qualifying him is quite bad for Yuki.
Yeah, not great at all from Yuki. Just after we talk about what a great season he's having and punching above the AlphaTauri, and then has a shocker.
Let's move to Q2 now. And the big thing that happened was Lewis Hamilton out and will start 13th tomorrow, unless Charles Leclerc takes 300 penalties, in which he might start 12th. But he qualified 13th behind Hülkenberg and Albon in Q2 and ahead of Zhou and De Vries. Again, like, it was a mediocre lap for Hamilton. He was sliding through that really tricky section before the back straight that is just the most horrendous sequence of corners for racing ever built. And they were struggling anyway. I think Russell was 10th, wasn't he, in Q2 as well, and scraped through.
Weird that it was almost a carbon copy of Baku, where the two Mercs was struggling massively in Q2 and only one of them ended up getting through. Last time it was Russell, this time Hamilton's been the one that's been knocked out. Yeah, Mercedes having an absolute shocker.
I'd also say that in Q2 you had Albon just missing out, and I felt quite bad for him because he did, again, an amazing job in that Williams when you compare him to his teammate who's starting last. And then perhaps slightly disappointed for Hülkenberg as well. He'd looked so good throughout qualifying, and I think because Hamilton was such the key focus in Q2 that perhaps Hülkenberg getting knocked out was actually sort of slipped under the radar, because he'd looked good all weekend despite having that crash. Haas genuinely looked like they have pace, and Magnussen's up in 4th.
Yeah, I've only just really processed that now looking at that result, that Hülkenberg should have been in Q3 really. Look at what Magnussen did. And yeah, Haas are looking really, really good, but it just didn't happen for Hulk.
Zhou Guanyu, 14th, and out-qualified by my biggest good surprise of the weekend, Valtteri Bottas, who stuck it in Q3 like the goat he is. And then, of course, De Vries that we mentioned. I'm sure that'll give a slight confidence boost for him, I would imagine, starting ahead of your teammate. It's not a massive performance, but I don't think there is that expectation in the AlphaTauri to be sticking it in Q3 every week, because it just isn't there on pace, but definitely a building block, I would say, for Nick De Vries and his confidence.
It's exactly what he needed, and then out-qualifying your teammate is a bonus, so maybe it's the turnaround, we'll see.
Okay, we now move to Q3, and this was the big one. It started with Perez going P1, Verstappen making a mistake on his first run, which is something we didn't we don't tend to see all that often. Max Verstappen making mistakes in Q3. And then you had Alonso up in P2 on what was reported as a scrubbed or used set of tyres.
It's impressive stuff from Fernando to be starting P2. Perez in P1, Verstappen all the way down in P9. In a weird way, we got what we wanted because we wanted that order, because what an order it is.
Absolutely. So, of course, I'm kind of skirting around it, but yeah, red flag because Charles Leclerc. God, going through there is so scary. Like, I literally wince every... Oh! No! Oh, my God. Are you kidding me?
Done it again. Again.
Oh, my...
That's Verstappen ninth?
Done.
That's Verstappen ninth.
Binned it on his final quali lap after making a mistake as well on his first run in Q3 as well. And I am struggling to defend him this weekend. Been a little bit crash happy in the past few weekends, because I wouldn't say he's pushing too hard because Sainz is necessarily getting the upper hand over him this year, because he hasn't. Perhaps it's just an element of the fact that Ferrari aren't anywhere near Red Bull, and he has to do these absolutely sensational laps in order to get anywhere near the front. And maybe that is what Charles, unfortunately, at this point in his career has to do and will do is, all right, you're going to see some blistering quali laps, but sometimes he's going to bin it as well.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because I'm not the Charles Leclerc fanboy of this podcast, but I have...
Oh, you're not?
No, I'm not. But I have defended him a lot, saying that I think his reputation of being a crash-happy driver is unfair. But when he's done it twice in 2 days, it's not a great look.
It's not been a good weekend. Glad you put him as pole, mate. Thanks.
Credit to Sainz, actually. He has been on it this weekend. He's looked a lot closer to Charles Leclerc. Didn't quite make the front row because of Alonso's worldy lap. It's going to be interesting to see where Charles starts the race from, maybe even at the back. And that just is another driver that we're going to get to see come through the field. After we did that, whole podcast about overtaking will be impossible. Well, now is the big test, because we've got great, really exciting drivers at the back of the grid.
Hopefully that doesn't breed a terrible race where Perez wins by a minute. But at the same time, it's going to be fascinating because you've got Alonso on the front row. You've got Magnussen in fourth. Like, what is he doing there? Gasly's fifth in the Alpine. Like, it's unbelievable. And then, of course, you've got Verstappen in ninth, Leclerc seventh, Hamilton 13th, Stroll down in 18th. It is going to put the theory to the test. I do think they are going to struggle a lot. It's just picking your moments. And I think we could see a few mistakes tomorrow with drivers potentially DNFing.
People said that the DRS shortening could actually be a way for them to slow down Red Bull, because we know how unbelievable their super DRS is, and they just fly past people in the straight. Now, we've seen, even without DRS, they're incredibly quick. And if Alonso does take the lead, he's going to struggle to keep Perez behind him. But you never know. And
Alonso's good on his tyres as well. The Aston's very good with tyre deg.
He is.
But anyway, we'll see you very soon for another podcast video and so on. We've got lots to come. We've still got loads more races in the coming weeks. Please follow us on everywhere, and we'll see you very soon. Bye!
Bye!